Procreate brushes and Photoshop actions. Packaging digital art tools that sell. Your custom brush set or one-click action is a product. Here's how to box it up and price it right. You spent 40 hours dialing in a Procreate brush that lays down watercolor bloom exactly right, or an action that turns a flat portrait into your signature moody grade in one click. Then the DMs start. Can I buy this? That's where most illustrators and retouchers get stuck. Not because the tool isn't good enough to sell, but because nobody's shown them how to package it. A brush that lives beautifully in your library can still fail as a product if the file's named wrong. The preview hides the stroke variety, or the price misses what an artist would pay. Digital art tools differ from photo presets in one key way. The buyer isn't adjusting a photo, they're adopting a piece of your hand into their workflow, and the packaging has to prove that will work before they click buy. Start with the file itself, not the marketing. Before you think about a product page, get the actual file right. This is where digital art tools quietly break in ways photo presets never do. A Lightroom preset is a tiny text recipe. It either works or it doesn't. A Procreate brush set bundles shape sources, grain textures, and behavior settings tied to a specific app version. And a Photoshop at an action is a recorded sequence that can reference fonts, layer names, or color modes that don't exist on every canvas. Test your file on a device you didn't build it on, a friend's iPad, or a photo shot in a different color space. CMYK versus RGB catches more actions than anything else. If it breaks outside your own setup, that's your first support ticket after launch, not an edge case. Brush sets. What actually goes in the download? The code brush set code file itself, exported directly from Procreate's library. Never a screenshot or a zipped folder of loose textures. A one-page image showing every brush's name and a swatch stroke. So buyers find the right tool without opening Procreate and guessing. A compatibility line. Which Procreate version you built it in, and the minimum version needed. Grain and blend mode features tied to newer releases aren't backward-friendly. Optional but high value. A 20-second screen recording of the brush in use, hosted as an unlisted video link in the product description. Photoshop actions. What actually goes in the download? The code file, tested with the Actions panel open from a clean load. Not just rerun from your own history where cached layers mask a broken step. Before and after pair, flattened to code. JPG code, showing the exact transformation a buyer should expect on a typical file. Starting conditions noted. RGB versus CMYK, flattened versus layered, minimum resolution. Actions expecting a specific layer name will silently fail otherwise. A short readme on which Photoshop versions you tested. Creative Cloud updates action panel behavior more often than people expect. The compatibility line is your best refund insurance. Most refund requests aren't about quality. They're about a buyer discovering, after paying, that their app version or file type doesn't match. One sentence on the product page. Built for Procreate 5.3 Plus. Tested on iPad Air and Pro. Heads off most of that friction before it reaches your inbox. Preview design. Swatches versus before after. And why the format matters. This is the biggest difference between packaging a brush set and an action set, and it trips up creators crossing from one to the other. A brush buyer needs to see texture and stroke behavior. A grid of swatches at different pressures tells them more than a finished illustration, which hides how much of the look came from your hand versus the tool. An action buyer needs to see transformation. A clean before and after is the whole pitch, since they're evaluating whether their own photos will look like the after. Selling a brush set with only finished artwork previews, or an action pack with only isolated swatches, is the most common preview mistake in this niche. Pricing. By hours saved and hand feel, not by count. New sellers default to counting. It's 50 brushes, so it's worth more than a 10 brush pack. Working artists don't buy that way. A retoucher chasing one specific skin glow effect will pay more for a single tested action than for a bloated 200 action pack full of filler. Price on two axes. How much time this saves on a task the buyer does manually, and how distinctive the hand feel is. Can they get something close for free? A signature brush that took a year to nail sits in a different tier than a generic texture from a tutorial. File count isn't what buyers pay for. List the 3-5 effects you use constantly in your paid work. Your strongest hero candidates, priced highest. Bundle less distinctive tools into a lower price starter pack for buyers not ready for the premium tier. Price Hero Plus starter together clearly below buying both separately, so upgrading feels natural. Revisit pricing every few months. Last year's differentiator may now be table stakes. Nobody pays for a bigger zip file. They pay for the one effect they couldn't get anywhere else. Packaging is a product page, not a folder dump. Once the files and previews are ready, the product page turns a good tool into a bought one. Lead with the transformation in the title. Moody editorial portrait action beats Action Pack Volume 3 because it tells a buyer what changes. Use your swatch grid or before-after as the hero image, not a logo. Name the exact use case. Built for indoor portraits with mixed lighting, rather than a vague professional results guaranteed. And because delivery on store.fan is instant and automatic. A secure link on screen and by email the moment payment clears, say so in your copy. Start using it in the next 5 minutes, which matters against a client deadline. If you want to see this kind of page done well end to end, browse a live example store for layout ideas on hero images, pricing tiers, and how a creator stacks a hero product above a starter bundle. Test it on a device or app version you didn't build it on. Compatibility line written in plain language, swatch grid, brushes, or before-after actions as the hero image. Title names the specific effect, not a volume number. Priced by distinctiveness and time saved, not file count, README included, inline or as a separate file. Launch discount code set up for your email list. Turning one-time buyers into a real audience. Brush and action buyers are unusually loyal once you win their trust. Switching tools mid-project is annoying, so they'd rather keep buying from the artist whose stuff already works in their pipeline. A short custom checkout field asking, "What device or Photoshop version?" lets you tailor delivery emails with a compatibility reminder. A customer list lets you email when you drop a new brush that pairs with one they own. A discount code tied to a launch window turns "check out my new brush" into an event, not a link nobody clicks. None of this requires a big audience. It requires creating your store and treating the first sale as the start of a relationship, not the end of a transaction. Don't sleep on the bundle upsell. If you sell a brush set and an action set separately, add a third listing bundling them at a small discount for buyers doing both illustration and photo work. It costs nothing extra to create and often outsells one of the standalone products. The gap between a brush I made for myself and a brush I sell to strangers isn't talent, it's packaging. Get the file format and compatibility note right. Show the correct preview for your product type. Price by distinctiveness instead of volume. And let automatic delivery handle getting the file into hands the moment payment clears. Every illustrator or retoucher now selling tools started with one brush or action they were tired of giving away free. If you've got an effect people already ask about, that's a product, not a favor. Read more guides on packaging digital products, or just get the file uploaded and see what happens. Key takeaways. Brush sets need a native brush set file, plus a plain language compatibility note. Version mismatches are the one refund request. Action sets should ship as ATN with a flattened before-after image and a note on Photoshop versions and color modes supported. Preview swatches sell brushes, Before-after pairs sell actions. Don't cross the formats. Price by hours saved and hand feel, not file count. One unique brush can outprice a 200 brush pack nobody needed. A short custom checkout field, device, art style, lets you tailor delivery emails and cut support load. Start your creator store free at store.fan.